glance, she'd learned enough about wine to pass a simple tasting. She swished the wine around the glass and didn't notice any problem with the color of the liquid. In truth, she had always felt this part of wine tasting was the second most useless. Red wines were red, and white were always white. Karen lifted the wine to her nose, scented a little citrus and berry, then let the wine hit her tongue. Full-bodied and sweet. No need to spit it out. Spitting out the wine was the most useless of wine-tasting practices, in her opinion. Spitting out perfectly good wine defeated the purpose. "This will be fine," she told Vera, who appeared to hold her breath as Karen gave her opinion. "Be sure that the first bottles served are what Michael ordered." Vera gave a swift nod and a motion of her hand, while others moved around them to place the wine inside the house. They both turned to walk inside when a lone figure approached from behind them. "Mrs. Wolfe?" With a practiced smile, Karen turned around and forgot to breathe. The hair on her arms stood on end as a mixture of sensation traveled over her skin. There was something familiar about the 6'3" man with dark brown hair and piercing blue eyes. His jaw was as rugged as Michael's and held a day's worth of stubble, something Michael sported for some of his roles but preferred to shave off at first chance. Thinking of Michael brought his image to her mind, and the realization hit that the man in front of her could quite possibly be his double. Only this man didn't have the laughter in his eyes or the easy smile on his face. No, there was something hidden behind his gaze that made her pause. This man was gorgeous, and if she were one to believe in instant attraction, her body responded to him with a fierceness she didn't think possible. Maybe this was what the women gazing at Michael experienced that she did not. This wild thrill of discovery that led to possibilities only the big screen could fulfill. Instead of letting her imagination get the best of her, Karen flattened a hand over her stomach and attempted to act unaffected. "Do I know you?" The sex-personified, blue-eyed man stepped toward her. It took effort for her to hold her ground. Sensing her unease, he held still, looked around the both of them as if noticing the caterers running about and guests arriving behind him, and said simply, "Zach Gardner." The smile on her face stayed. The name tickled at the edges of her consciousness. Memories flashed behind the veil of her mind until she narrowed her focus. "Michael's brother?" she whispered. Zach gave a small nod and swept his eyes down her frame. When his eyes met hers again, he masked whatever he'd been thinking. Then he smiled and said, "And you're the wife none of us have met." Not a lot shook Karen. She'd managed the role of Michael's wife under the ever-present scrutiny of paparazzi, producers, actors, and fans. But the man standing in front of her did what no one else could. He made her question her decision to marry. Karen stepped forward and ignored the frown suddenly on Zach's face. "We didn't know you were coming." "So you do know Mike has a family?" "Of course." No one called Michael Mike. Somehow, family always made you remember where you were from. Karen fidgeted under his stare, and something in his gaze hesitated. It was as if he knew he was coming across harsh and blaming her for his brother's absence. But Karen knew Michael wasn't as close to his family as he once was. "He's had a grueling schedule this last year." She made excuses for Michael, knowing that part of the reason his family had not been brought into their marriage was because it wasn't scheduled to last. His deception was meant for Hollywood, not his family. In reality, Karen had half expected someone to show up before now. "Everyone's busy," which Karen translated as Zach not giving a shit about Michael's schedule or his excuses. They were Michael's to excuse, and Karen didn't want to step between him and his family. "I'm sure Michael will be excited to see you." She started to walk past Zach to show him the way inside. "Looks like my timing is bad." It would have been easy for her to suggest that unexpected and unannounced visits had a way of having bad timing, but she refrained. Not at all. Since they'd never met in person, and she had no way of knowing if Zach knew her name, she presented her hand. "I'm Karen, by the way." Zach took her hand in his, and an unexpected hot current